1 Kings chapter 20. And King Benhadad of Syria gathered his entire army, which included 32 kings, along with horses and chariots. They went up and besieged Samaria, waging war against it. He sent messengers to Ahab, the king of Israel, within the city, saying, "This is what Benhadad says: Your silver and gold are mine, and even your most beautiful wives and children are mine." The king of Israel replied, "My lord the king, I am yours, along with all that I have." The messengers came back and said, "This is what Benhadad says: I sent you a message demanding your silver, gold, wives, and children. But about this time tomorrow, I will send my servants to search your palace and the houses of your officials. They will take whatever is valuable to them." Upon hearing this, the king of Israel gathered all the elders of the land and said, "Mark my words and see how this man is looking for trouble. He demanded my wives, children, silver, and gold, and I did not refuse him." The elders and the people replied, "Don't listen to him or agree to his demands." So he told the messengers of Benhadad, "Tell my lord the king, I will do everything you first demanded of your servant, but this I cannot do." The messengers left and reported this to Benhadad. Benhadad then sent a message saying, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if there is enough dust in Samaria to give each of my men a handful." The king of Israel replied, "Tell him, let not the one who puts on his armor boast like the one who takes it off." As Benhadad heard this message while he and the other kings were drinking in their tents, he ordered his soldiers, "Get ready." So they prepared to attack the city. Just then, a prophet approached Ahab, the king of Israel, and declared, "This is what the Lord says: Have you seen this vast army? I will deliver it into your hands today, and then you will know that I am the Lord." Ahab asked, "By whom?" The prophet answered, "This is what the Lord says: By the young officers of the provincial commanders." "Who will lead the battle?" Ahab asked. The prophet replied, "You will." So Ahab counted the young officers of the provincial commanders, and they numbered 232. After them, he counted the Israelite troops, a total of 7,000. They marched out at noon while Benhadad and the 32 kings were in their tents, getting drunk. The young officers of the provincial commanders led the charge. Benhadad sent out scouts who reported, "Men are advancing from Samaria." He ordered, "Whether they come in peace or for battle, take them alive." The young officers of the provincial commanders and the army marched out of the city, and Benhadad's forces followed them. Each one struck down his opponent. The Syrians fled, with the Israelites in pursuit. But Benhadad, the king of Syria, escaped on horseback with his horsemen. The king of Israel advanced and overran the horses and chariots, inflicting a great slaughter on the Syrians. The prophet approached the king of Israel and advised, "Go, strengthen yourself and take note what you must do, for at the turn of the year, the king of Syria will march against you." The servants of the king of Syria advised him, "Their gods are gods of the hills. That's why they defeated us. But if we fight them on the plains, surely we will be stronger than they." "Do this," they said. "Remove each king from his position and replace him with a governor. Then muster an army like the one you lost, horse for horse and chariot for chariot, so we can fight them on the plains. Surely we will be stronger than they." He agreed and acted accordingly. When the turn of the year came, Benhadad counted the Syrians and marched to Aphek to fight against Israel. The Israelites also mobilized and confronted the Syrians. They encamped opposite them like two small flocks of goats, while the Syrians covered the countryside. A man of God approached the king of Israel and said, "This is what the Lord says, because the Syrians have said, 'The Lord is a God of the hills but not a God of the valleys.' I will deliver all this vast army into your hands, and you will know that I am the Lord." For 7 days the two armies camped opposite each other. On the 7th day, the battle was joined, and the Israelites struck down 100,000 Syrian foot soldiers in one day. The rest fled to Aphek, into the city, where the wall fell on 27,000 of them. Benhadad also fled into the city and hid in an inner room. His advisors said, Look, we have heard that the kings of Israel are merciful. Let's put sackcloth around our waists and ropes around our heads, and go out to the king of Israel. Perhaps he will spare your life." So they dressed in sackcloth, put ropes on their heads, and went to the king of Israel. They pleaded, "Your servant Benhadad says, 'Please spare my life.'" Ahab responded, "Is he still alive? He is my brother." The men saw this as a good omen and quickly picked up on his words, saying, "Yes, your brother Benhadad." "Go and get him," Ahab said. Benhadad came out to him, and Ahab had him come up into his chariot. Benhadad said to him, "The cities that my father took from your father, I will return. And you may set up markets for yourself in Damascus, as my father did in Samaria." Ahab then said, "I will set you free on the basis of this treaty." So he made a treaty with him and let him go. But a prophet found another man and said, "Strike me, please." But the man refused to strike him. Then the prophet said, "Because you have not obeyed the Lord's command, as soon as you leave me, a lion will kill you." And after the man left, a lion found him and killed him. The prophet found yet another man and said, "Strike me, please." So the man struck him, wounding him. Then the prophet went and stood by the road waiting for the king. He disguised himself with a bandage over his eyes. As the king passed by, the prophet called out to him and said, "Your servant marched into the thick of the battle, and suddenly a soldier turned and brought a man to me and said, 'Guard this man. If he is missing, it will be your life for his life, or you must pay a talent of silver.' While your servant was busy here and there, the man disappeared." "That's your sentence," the king of Israel said. "You have pronounced it yourself." The prophet quickly removed the bandage from his eyes, and the king of Israel recognized him as one of the prophets. Then the prophet said to the king, "This is what the Lord says, 'Because you have spared the man I said must be destroyed, now you must die in his place, and your people will die instead of his people.'" The king of Israel returned to his palace in Samaria, heavy-hearted and angry.